Let's bring him on. Kyle Gibson is joining us right now on FT Live. And first off, like we always like to do, Kyle, great to see you. Congratulations, dude. You
Thank
are
you.
among very, very few in this game to make it to 10 years. So we want to start there. Then we can get back to some combos on who you'd rather face. But, dude, what a week it's been. Take us through it. There you go. 10 years of service. We like to celebrate it on this show, bring on just about every player that hits that mark. So how was the week? And are you looking back like, whoo, all right, I made it to 10?
It's so surreal, honestly. It's really talking to some guys. It's nothing that I actually set out to do. It wasn't a career goal per se. I was talking to my wife a couple off seasons ago, and just kind of looking back at the journey. And she was a collegiate athlete, so she gets the competitive side. And I said, I feel like all of us, set out to have this 10, 15-year career. We know it's going to happen. We're super confident in it. But for me, I feel like there was always moments during my career where I was just kind of hoping that I would get through the year. I would hope that I'd get to the next year, hope that I make it through arbitration. And there was always just a little bit of doubt in the back of my mind, during certain times. So been a really cool journey to look back on and be able to share some of his experience with some of these young guys this year.
Take me through the switch. Was it 17 that you told me about when you shortened your arm swing up? Was it the end of 17 going into 18?
Going into 17. So I battled a shoulder injury all of 2016. Really kind of pitched through it because moving down the slope, my arm felt okay. Playing long toss, I couldn't go past 120 feet. So getting ready for the season in 2017. Honestly, I thought I was going to need surgery to clean something up. And thankfully, I called an old pitching coach from Missouri who was with the Mariners at the time, Brian DeLunas, and he said, "Hey, go see this guy in Florida, Randy Sullivan, at the Florida Baseball Ranch." And I did it, and it was career changing. Just the drills, the lower body stuff that he had me do to be more efficient down the mound. I left there with my arm feeling really good and cleaned up an arm path, and thankfully, ever since, I've been feeling pretty good.
I know that place. I know the baseball ranch. Yeah, it's not far from here, Scott. You should go.
Take me. I'm down.
We can leave you
They're
there.
not going to let me in by myself.
I know we can leave. We can just take Scott and leave him there, Kyle. Can we get him locked in the shed? They have.
I might come back and make it 10 years in the show. Who knows?
Love to have him. I guarantee it. Randy's an awesome.
Hey, what was the process though? Because I'm interested. I'm intrigued by this, right? Because you had success. I remember when we faced you in 2013-ish, 2014 with some teams, and we're like, man, this dude's got really good stuff. So what was the thought process? I mean, other than your shoulder being sore, but how long does it take someone? Because most people you see like Lucas Giolito, right? He kind of shortened it one off season. How much work does it take to shorten your arm and change your arm after you've been doing it your whole life?
Yeah, honestly, I panicked a little bit because this was around Christmas, and I was coming off a really bad year in 2016. I was really focused on just trying to make the club out of sprint training. So when Randy said, "Hey, you're going to throw with this throwing sock on your arm, and you're not going to actually throw a baseball until almost February 1st, I panicked. It was 4 weeks of weighted balls, and the weighted balls were more to help clean up the arm path, not to create velocity. And then there was a yellow ball that I put, right here in between my elbow and my bicep, which helped keep my hand a little bit closer to my ear. So when February 1st came around and it was the first time I threw a baseball past the throwing sock, I was glad that I felt good, but man, it was weird getting on the mound and playing catch with a person. But I was still doing throwing drills with that yellow ball while throwing to a person. But probably not coincidentally, even though my stuff was good and my arm felt good, I just didn't have that arm path quite figured out. So 8 starts into 2017, even though my velocity was good, my stuff was good, I had like an 8.5 ERA because when I got into a big situation in the 4th or 5th inning, I would kind of lose that delivery, and boom, there's the first hanging slider of the day for a 2 or 3 run homer. There's a changeup that I leave up for a double in the gap. And I really kind of struggled in those big moments because I didn't have that delivery down quite yet. But after I got called back up and worked on a few things, it was thankfully smooth sailing for the rest of the year. But it was definitely a transformation and a process to get my mind to figure out without having to think about it. This is my new delivery. This is my new arm path. And once I got that down, it tended to work out a little bit better.
So I want to go through both that time period, and I know you battled a stomach issue from a trip that you took that I'd like to kind of rehash with you for a sec on some moments in your career where you were you worried about how your career would look after that point from what you're talking about here, and I believe it was 2019 when you dealt with ulcerative colitis, right?
Yeah, so we had gone on a lot of mission trips to the Dominican and to Haiti. We had a family and a girl down there that we were sponsoring to get her through school and to get her through a project that was basically like a boys and girls club, compared to here in the States. And every year we went down and visited that community and see what they needed, see how we could help them. So we kind of knew what not to eat, what not to drink, kind of the whole spiel. Well, I came back and I had E. coli. So the doctor was like, listen, you have this kind of rarer version of it, so we can't give you any medicine because if we do that, it's going to unlock basically a toxin in the E. coli. So I said, okay, well, let's just hang in tight here for a few weeks, which kind of stunk. But at the end of the month, that was January 1st or 3rd, somewhere around there. At the end of January, I still felt terrible. So the twins said, hey, we need to get you a scope. We need to get you to a doctor to see what's going on. And that's when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which essentially allowed that E. coli to kind of take place there and take hold in the Dominican and Haiti. But that was a different kind of journey, going through, developing an autoimmune disease that, kind of hangs out with you for the rest of your life. And you don't really know when it might flare up and when it can kind of rear its nasty head. But thankfully, throughout the year of 2019, the first part at least, I felt good. And then, really went through a stretch around All-Star break on where I just wasn't sleeping. I had lost 20 pounds without getting into too much of the details for you guys. Was just up all night, not in bed, not able to sleep, unfortunately, in the bathroom. But, lost 20 to 25 pounds and just wasn't myself. But the adrenaline and the rush that we all get when we play actually allowed me to feel good every 5 days when I was pitching. So, it was pretty stupid doing that 20 pounds down, but that was the only time of the week that I felt good. So I wanted to keep pitching until really I couldn't there in September. But, it took me on a pretty interesting journey for 2019 and 2020 trying to find the right medicine. But, thankfully I've had really good doctors there in St. Louis at WashU that have, been able to find a medicine that have worked and kept me feeling good for the last few years.
This is a credit to you, Gibby. This is why we love having guys on that get 10 years because you see the whole celebration with you getting your face smashed in cake. That might have actually made your ulcerative colitis spring up. You can't be smashing your head in cakes. But
we got it.
We have the video of you and Hicksy.
Yeah, man, what another cool side of this. Just getting called up the same year as Hicksy with the Twins. He made the team out of spring. I didn't. He got sent down in 2014. I was up all year, and then somehow 10 years later, we're 1 day apart in service time. Just really cool to be able to do that and reconnect with him this year. As we got him off of waivers, and that was a really cool moment for us.
Yeah, so they're gonna smash. There you go.
There it is.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah. Is this a thing? We talked to all the 10-year guys, and I didn't hear about this.
So we do this for every birthday, actually. They started it last year. We celebrate everybody's birthday. We sing happy birthday to them, and then, they get their face smashed in a cake as a little, hey, you made it another year, so let's eat some cake. And then, thankfully, we have a cake that we actually get to eat.
Yeah.
Put their face on.
Yeah, that's really important because you can't just waste cake. Birthday cake is...
Sometimes we try to cut the face out and eat the edges, so that you don't waste as much as possible.
That's fair. That's fair. So your team really doesn't matter. They're so young, they can all eat cake. When you're older, you can't eat a lot of cake. What is it like? What is it like being on this team and kind of compare it to last year's team? I saw you in the clubhouse a lot when I was doing a little bit of stuff with the Phillies, seeing how that clubhouse is. Compare the two.
Yeah, this is a question that I get quite a bit, with the success we've had this year. And if I can do it best, it would be take the ages of the number of guys, right? So we had a lot of veterans last year. We'll say it was 80% veterans and then 20% new guys. And then if you take that and you flip it this year, that's really what we got. We got 80% newer guys and 20% of the guys that have been around and have established themselves. But what I tell people is, you take that Phillies team and how many just bona fide established studs they had. You take this team in 2 to 3 years, you're going to have just as many household names. And I think people around baseball are realizing that. Gunnar Henderson's going to be looked at as one of the best shortstops in baseball for years to come. Adley Rutschman has established himself as maybe the best catcher in the American League, if not in the entire game. You look around the field, those are the type of players that are going to be on this team for the Orioles for the next few years. And I think once they really kind of gain that traction in their career, people are going to have a pretty good comparison between the 2022 Phillies and the 2023 Orioles.
Kyle, speaking of celebrations, and you talked about the tradition of smashing your face in cake. It's like you guys got married again. Homer hose. You started the Homer hose, right? So how did the Homer hose start, and why don't pitchers get to drink from the Homer hose? You need to be like a shutdown inning hose or something, because not only did you start Homer hose, you started the sprinkler thing, right?
So I don't want to take credit for it. I was just the one that had to talk in the media, because each day they did this, I was pitching, and the starting pitcher has to face the media every time, right? So, they started the sprinkler in Texas during one of my starts, and I had no idea what was going on. And then they start this Homer hose. It was Cole Irvin and another reliever that literally went to the store and bought a hose, taped it black and orange, fashioned this funnel on the end, and then they started it. And here I am pitching, and I walk in afterwards, and everybody's losing their mind on social media about the dong bong. And here I'm just thinking in my head, is like, this is the first question I'm going to get after my start, is I'm going to have to answer about this dong bong deal. And, everybody during the dugout and everything had called it the Homer hose. So, it's just one of those things. These guys, it stems from a spring training thing with rookie talent show and Adley and some of the guys. And man, these guys it happened organically. They all bought into it, and they all just having fun with it. So there's no reason to stop it at this point.
Yeah, but pitchers can't get involved. So you got to come up with something for pitchers, because Eric and I are position players. We're all four pitchers. They're special teams players. You guys are like kickers. You only play once when we need you guys. But, you guys have to come up with your own celebration, right? Because God forbid, you go out and throw like a 7-inning shutout inning, you go over to get a drink of water, and they're like, no, you don't get to touch that. That's position players only.
That's a pretty good comparison there, AJ, because, we are kind of like the kickers and the punters. When we mess up, it's obviously a glaring problem, but when we do well, it's what we were supposed to do. You guys hit a homer as a position player, which is what you're supposed to do, and you guys get all these brand new celebrations like it's something that you did special. But no,
that's right. See, that's right. Finally, a pitcher that embraces being a kicker. Thank you, Kyle. You're my new favorite player. Thank you.
We're basically kickers, I mean, I guess that's how it goes.
Oh, that's good. Well, I have a question related to how you ended up here with Baltimore. So take me through the offseason. What was the process like? And I remember, I don't know if you said this, I just have this in my weird notes that I take, or I read this from an article, but you got other offers, including one that I think was almost identical. So how did you end up with Baltimore? And if you can tell us now that it's passed already, like what was the other spot or spots?
I don't know. I probably won't get into the other spots. But for me, I had a couple of really good conversations with Holty and Darren Holmes, the pitching coaches. And, I really enjoyed that time talking to them and just how they attacked, helping guys get better and helping guys through, start to start process. And then I leaned on a couple of conversations with guys like Jordan Lyles and Robinson Chirinos, two guys that I play with in Texas, and asked them about their experience, because coming off the World Series and coming off the team that was all in to win, I wanted to make sure I was getting in a situation that they were ready to win, and which it seemed like it, right? They were the best team in the American League at the end of 2022 for the second half, and it just seemed like they were going in the right direction. And then just my conversations with Hyde and the staff, it really just seemed like, man, this is a team that's ready to go for it, and has an amazing defense, has an amazing young core of players, and it just felt right. I know that sounds weird, but I've always loved playing in Camden. It was one of my favorite spots, my first few years to be as a visiting player. I always enjoyed Baltimore, spots to eat in Little Italy. Once again, that sounds weird, but I just thought it was a place that my family was going to be comfortable in, and we were going to have a lot of fun playing the game.
Kyle, I also envision the Baltimore Orioles doing something unique nowadays with their recruiting pitch to free agent pitchers. Okay. So for years, they played in one of the more hitter-friendly ballparks. Now that has changed thanks to some dimensional adjustments that have been made. So, for example, if you get offers from Baltimore and like, I don't know, Miami or LA, something like that, right? Many pitchers would think twice, especially if they're like, hey, 1-year deal, I know how this works and I don't get judged completely on what the ballpark looks like. So did they send you a photo of Mount Baltimore and just say, does this help?
That was part of their spiel, right? Playing in Citizens Bank for a year and a half, they said, "Hey, we think you're going to give up a few less homers here." But my pitching strategy is not trying to find a place where I can give up fly balls and that they don't leave the yard, right? My pitching strategy is to keep the ball on the ground. So I kind of feel like the AL East is a lot of hitter friendly parks, but I feel like if I'm executing pitches and I'm keeping the ball on the ground, those balls don't leave the yard. So find a few guys on the infield that can pick and get it to first, and then find those guys in the outfield that really run it down, like we got. And throwing to Adley was another thing. I know that, he's young, and that might sound silly, but, Robinson and Jordan both talked a lot, really highly on Adley. And, that's something coming from throwing to JT, throwing to Trevino, throwing to guys like Jason Castro and Kurt Suzuki. Those guys helped me out a lot. So, that whole package was really more of the pitch. And the wall out in left field was just part of it.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard us before you came on, but we were talking about the Yankees, and they're in your division, obviously. But which hitter would you rather face? The guy who can once out of every 2 out of 10 he hits at 95, or Luis Arraez type that puts the ball in play, can get hits and put pressure on you?
So it's interesting, listening to that. Even though I only caught the last couple minutes, I love these type of conversations, right? We've had a couple different times where in Texas and in Philly, a couple guys would ask either a hitting coach or an analytics guy, hey, come up with your ideal lineup, right? And then we would go through and we say, all right, we're going to put in guys with, homers on one side, homers and power, but some swing and miss in their game. And then we're going to come up with a lineup of guys that are, maybe not the high OPS, but they're higher average, less swing and miss. And, it's interesting to hear feedback of what guys want to face and what guys don't want to face. And then even hitting coaches, who they want to coach and who they build their lineup on. Because I'm still in the game, AJ, I'm going to avoid this question.
Oh, come on. Okay, I'm not saying, but no, because I get it. I understand. You're still in the game. I understood. But that's okay. I'm going to rephrase it. This is what the media now, since we're now media, Kratz and I, Gibby, this is what we do. We ask you the same question. We just word it differently. So if you're throwing a shutout, you have a 1-0 lead, runner on third, 2 outs. Would you rather face a contact guy or a guy who can hit a home run and make it 2-1?
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, right? All right, I'll go to a situation that we've had, and then I don't have.
You just see, you want to answer the guy. I love it. You got.
You just had to phrase it a little differently, and we're good, right? We had Luis Arraez up at Baltimore, right? I think it was maybe second and third, and maybe even 2 outs. And in that situation, I don't know what Hyder had thought, but in that situation, you're actually kind of thinking, man, do we walk this guy? Like, do we give him a chance as a 385, 390 hitter at the time? Do we give him a chance? We pitched to him and he hit a fly ball to left. But, to your point, a lot of pitchers I feel like would, that we talked to had kind of leaned on saying, you know what, I might give up 3 or 4 homers to this lineup, but I'm probably not going to have a lot of traffic. And if I can get to the swing and miss that day and I can execute pitches, then, I might enjoy that lineup a little bit better. But it's always an interesting discussion to have because nobody wants to give up homers, right? But the old adage that solo homers normally aren't going to beat you, still kind of rings true in most of those scenarios.
Unless you give up 9 of them.
Unless you give up 9. Or when you give up 3, I give up 3 the other day. So you don't want to give up 3 either. So if you can avoid the 3 homer games, that's good as well. But anytime you're facing traffic, constantly on the bases, it's just not fun. Whether it's a contact hitter or a swing and miss guy at the plate, if you have a guy at second, there's a different strategy because you bounce the ball, now he's on third, Now you got a guy on third, a wild pitch is a run. We talk about it all the time. So whenever you have traffic on the bases, it's a whole lot different. So those guys create a lot of different troubles for pitchers.
Kyle, I've got one more on my side. So I know you're friends with Lance Lynn. You guys have had great pitching conversations. He's on this show every couple weeks. He's a fantastic interview, great dude. So I just want to get your thoughts on how you've seen his year go, because I will say, because we've had some analytics conversations today, 10 years ago, he might not get coveted by a team because he had the worst ERA among qualified starting pitchers. The Dodgers are a damn machine. They look at him, they see other things. They're like, okay, this dude's better than what the numbers have shown, and we can talk to him about some other strategies and pitch sequencing and stuff like that. And look, he's shoving for them. He's looking like, one of their better pitchers now. So what do you think of, I guess, the way that we're evaluating pitchers on that front and how it can help a veteran like Lance change scenery and thrive again?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can put things in perspective. He was doing things that he had always done in his career from what I've seen. He was getting a lot of swing and miss. He was still striking guys out. And then you have some peripherals, right? I haven't looked into some of his analytics, but from talking to him, it just kind of seemed like maybe, one inning was getting him. A few strung hits together at the wrong time was getting him. I heard AJ talking here before I came on, about, when you get your hit, right? I had a high school baseball coach that said that all the time. And it seems silly, but baseball is a game of when. When you get your hit, when you make your pitch really matters. And for Lance, it could have just been a stretch of, and it really stinks, but a stretch of 10 games where he just didn't make a pitch when he needed to, or maybe the hitter really blooped it in when they needed to. And I know he had given up some long balls as well, but some of that, the analytics really allows you to keep things in perspective. In the middle of the year, I really don't like looking at FIP, looking at some of these things, because at the end of the day, I don't want to give up runs. I don't really care what my FIP is in the middle of the year, because that doesn't tell me if I'm keeping runs off the board. So I know for Lance, it was frustrating, but I also know he is a pitcher, man. And when you get him, maybe even a change of scenery was really good for him. You get him on a team that's leading the division and a competitor pushing for it. He always said in 2018 he started really slow. He was late to camp, because of just weird free agent stuff. He started saying in May and June to Odo and I, he's like, boys, don't let me get hot because I'm going to change. I'm going to be a different guy. And he did. He got hot in 2018, got traded to the Yankees and threw really well. But you let Lance, you let Big Bear, as we call him, you let Big Bear get on a roll. That guy can elevate a staff and really carry a team every time he's on the mound.
Part of the reason we have this show, Gibby, is players can call other players out. All right. Just because you have 10 years in the show, dog, don't be afraid to make your bed one time. You're on TV. The bed in the background. I mean,
nobody makes their bed. Gibby, tell them nobody with 10 years makes their bed in the show. Kratz doesn't get it. Tell them, did you have maid? There's a maid that comes in and does that for you. Because you guys are where you guys are in San Diego, right? You're either at the Omni or at the Hyatt. I mean, they got lots of maids there, dude. Tell them Kratz doesn't get it, dude. 10 years in the show, you take the do not disturb off, and they come in and do it for you.
Honestly, I'm hoping that my wife doesn't find this footage because, she, not that she's on me to make the bed, but I try to make a point, right, when she's around to make the bed, right? Sorry, I let you guys down on that one. I was focused a lot more on trying to make sure I didn't have the camera going up into my nostrils and really elevate in the right height. I looked behind me and was like, oh, you know what? It kind of looks like the pillow's in the right spot. And you found it. By the way, Kratzy, nice job, man.
Yeah, good job, Kratzy. Yeah, way to call him out. He can do whatever he wants this week. Right?
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
his birthday week.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah. This only happens once, though, so it's better than a birthday week.
It's better than a birthday week.
Hey, Gibby, before you go, can you tell Scott Braun, since you don't look at FIP and XFIP and WOBA and all that other analytical stuff?
It's like super analytics.
Can you just tell him that wins still matter to pitchers, and then you can go make your bet?
Don't make it a thing. You're going to be a get off my lawn guy if you keep doing that. I'm telling you, I'm trying to protect you.
There's AJ. There's a side of it, right? If I look at my full season here, all right, I was just doing it the other day. I looked and I was like, gosh, whatever the wins and losses are, you look at the 4.8 ERA and you're just like, man, that's brutal, right? And then when I went in to talk to the analytics guys maybe a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, what if I do this and that? And then I leave the meeting, I'm like, man, when I look at the peripherals, it's actually okay. Like the exit velocity is less than it normally is, this and that. So you can find ways to look around things, which is good and bad, right? We want to, whereas competitors, we never want to give up runs. But I mean, if I take away one team that I pitched against this year, things look a whole lot different.
What team? Wait, what
Mariners.
team?
The Mariners. I've given
Wow.
up like 16 runs in 8 innings or something. They just got my number right now. But analytics can give you a little bit different view. So yes, wins, keeping your team in the game, winning the game matters at the end of the day, right? If you give me 7 innings of 5 runs and we win 9-5, I'm in most days, right? It's going to be frustrating, but I'm in. You give me 8 and 3 runs and we lose 3-1 every game, it's not going to be fun. You don't want to lose, that's for sure.
So maybe it should be more of a team stat.
Which is
For
what
a
I
pitcher.
always say.
Like your team, if he starts, the team is whatever
But
that
you know
day.
what?
No, I'm serious.
AJ,
Yeah.
I mean, you know this as well as anybody. We talk about this in the locker room. Starting pitchers have a unique role, even though you think of us as kickers. Starting pitchers have a unique role, right? If we're really good that day, we're probably going to win.
Yeah.
If we're really bad, we're probably going to lose. It's in the middle where
Just like
you
a
want
kicker.
starts, right? It's like a kicker.
That is
If
not
a
true
kicker
at
has
all.
a really bad day, the football team usually
That
loses.
is not true at
Yes,
all.
it is.
No, it's not, dude.
It's
Ask the
unique
guy in the
role.
Super Bowl.
No, remember the game last year where the dude kept missing the extra points? What was it, the Cowboys game? Where they beat the crap out of some team? No?
Yeah,
You
and he
guys
got
don't remember
released
that
like
game?
right after.
Yeah,
No.
but wasn't
He
that
did.
for the
Got
winning
released.
team?
Yeah, he got released right after.
I know, but the
So he had a
game,
really
they
bad
won
day.
the game. Do you guys, wait, any
That's
of
what
you
he was
football
saying,
people?
though. But that's what he was saying. He's
What?
saying like, if I go 7 and give up 5, and we win 9-5, I'm happy, right? So maybe we should look at team record when Kyle Gibson starts, right? What are the Orioles when he starts? And if he's 22-8 when he starts in his 30 starts, hell, he had a hell of a year for the team. I like that. You're on to something, Gibby. Screw what Scott says.
If I can go out there and we win 20 plus in my starts, I could care less if I have 5 wins or 15. I want to be high-fiving at the end of the game, and that's really it. Because the more you do that, I told these guys one time, we had a rough road trip. We lost to a couple teams that were playoff teams. And the homestand before, I think we might have beat a couple teams that weren't. I said, guys, listen, baseball does not care who you beat and who you lose to. If you win 90 plus, 95 plus games, you're in the playoffs. Doesn't matter who you beat and who you lose to. So go out and win as many games as possible. And that's really the end of the day. You want to be high fiving and playing that winning song, no matter how you pitch, no matter how you play.
All right, last one for me. Sorry, real quick. Where's your ring? Where's your ring now?
The ring right now is in the townhouse in Baltimore. It's going to be going back to St. Louis. I haven't kept a whole lot of things. I've got a few things from the All-Star game. Elizabeth got me a signed base for a birthday present from Minnesota one year. That was cool. I've got a few things that I've kept, first win, stuff like that. That'll go on that shelf. It's really cool. It's a pretty special thing, and I can't thank the Phillies enough for how they presented that and everybody being on the bench. That was a really cool evening and a really cool moment. So that one will be on the shelf and be looked at a little bit.
So okay, I mean, I get it. It's a pennant ring, right? But does it mean the same as a World Series ring?
No, come
Well,
on.
I'm just
That's
asking
that's
because-
a layup
No,
question.
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
Crouch is like, "Where's your ring?" I'm like, "Wait, they didn't win? When did he? I know he was on the
No.
Phillies last year, but I was like, I appreciate it.
Right. We were talking there in Philly, and the ring is sweet, right? It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's better probably than some
And
other
talk-
Series rings.
Yes, it is.
They
No
always say,
comment.
"How's that ring?" And I say, "Man, it's pretty cool." They're like, only one way it's better, and it says champions on our World Series champs. So no doubt, right? A lot of that stuff I feel like we keep, we have is really for our family, really for our kids to maybe look at. I don't keep a game ball just so that I can have it, right? And I don't keep a pair of cleats so that I can have it and look at it. Cool things for family to reminisce a little bit, but that team will be connected, forever, right? Even though we didn't win it, still having the chance to relive those memories and have a season where halfway through the season we were expected to finish maybe third or fourth, and then you end up squeaking in the playoffs and making a push. So still memories, but it'd be better if it said World Series champs.
No, listen. Hey, much respect, because most people don't even get that opportunity. So
Yeah.
listen, I'm all for it. And you know what? the Phillies were fun as hell to watch last year, and they made a great run in the postseason. And I was at the game they got rained out, so thanks for that.
Yeah, because he caused that. Well, now he's on another good one. Kyle, we'll let you jump, man. Congrats again, and enjoy this ride with Baltimore. We'll be watching you in October, and hopefully you grab that ring this time, dude.
Yeah, thankfully. Hopefully, thank you guys for having me on. Next time, this right here, wherever the blue is, I'll make sure this bed's made up, and I'll give you guys a little bit better background. So I'll be a little more professional. Sorry about that.
No, off season, we'll get the ring. We'll have the made bed. It's going to be fantastic in the off season. We'll talk to you in like November or December. All right, Kyle?
Cool. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Gibby. That was awesome.